Hello and welcome back. It's me, Karen, again. So far, we've covered how designers use research about potential users to inform their ideation process. At this point in the design process, you should have a clear understanding of who your users are and how they behave. So, what should you do with this information? Well, think about when you know someone very well, like a sibling or best friend. You can probably imagine their behavior in certain situations. Let's say that you and your sibling decide to take a trip to their lake. You know your sibling loves the outdoors but always forgets to bring sunscreen. When you reach the lake and begin putting on sunscreen, they're upset that they forgot their own. But, using what you knew about the location and what you knew about your sibling, you anticipated this and brought an extra bottle of sunscreen for them to use. UX designers use information learned about potential users in a similar way. They use information learned through research to help identify the needs a user will have when interacting with the product being designed. To outline this process, we create a user flow. A user flow is the path taken by a typical user on an app or website, so they can complete a task from start to finish. The goal is to map how users achieve a specific goal as they move through a product. That way, we have a clear overview of the product's functionality before the design process begins. To be clear, user flows don't include polished content that will appear in the final product. Instead, they include shapes that represent different interactions. These shapes don't always have universal meanings, but let's review a few of these shapes and how we will be interpreting them through this process now. Circles indicate the actions users take when moving through a product design. Rectangles indicate the screens of a digital product that users will experience while completing tasks. Diamonds symbolize the decisions users make and either move them forward through the flow or back to an earlier part of the flow. And finally, lines provide direction through the user flow based on each user's decision. You may recognize these shapes if you've ever created a flowchart in the past. Now that you have an idea of what these icons represent, let's take a look at a practical application of them in a potential user flow for a dog walking app. Ta-da! Here's what a user flow could look like for a dog walker app. At the beginning of our user flow, the first action is represented by a circle. The action in this case is the user opening the app. Next, a line is drawn to indicate that the user is moving forward to the next element, a screen that shows users the homepage. Since this is a screen, it is represented by a rectangle. Now, the user has to make a choice about moving on towards another screen. The action is represented by a circle. The user chooses to browse dog walkers, which takes them to the next screen. This is a screen that presents a list of available dog walkers, so it is represented by another rectangle. After that, the user flow moves on to the user selecting a dog walker. Since this is an action that the user takes, this is a circle. Once a dog walker is selected, the user flow lands on the rectangle for the dog walker's profile screen. Next up is the first decision the user has to make. This is a diamond. Here, the user must decide if they would like to book the dog walker whose profile they're currently looking at. If they decide to book, the user flow follows the yes arrow to the appointment confirmation screen. If the user decides not to book, the user flow follows the no arrow back to the dog walker profile screen. Our user is moving on to the rectangle appointment confirmation screen, so we will follow the solid line, and that completes this user flow. That's it. Now that you know what a user flow is and how to use some of the elements that create them, you can move on to the next reading to learn more about creating a user flow for your own project.